Week 1, Monday's mobility routines. Today, we choose a mob of our own discretion. Mine will be a hip opener. It's called a hip capsule mob. Um, the other one we're going to do is an overhead rib mob and a posterior neck mob. So today's tools that we'll need for the trade: a softball, a tennis ball, and a yoga mat if you have one, or you can just do it on the carpet. So one of the first things I normally do is start out doing a couple of yoga things, a couple of yoga poses to kind of roll out and loosen my back up. So we'll roll. And then I use this to pop my back. We'll come back down, hugging our knees to our chest. Make sure you breathe throughout these routines. You're going to need it. Keep your right knee into your chest, extending your left leg out. And then we're going to go into a spinal twist. So you're going to pull this knee across your body. You're going to take your right arm, lay it straight out from you, and then you're going to look at that hand. Then we're going to roll back to the beginning, bringing both knees to the chest. And then we're going to extend out our right leg, holding our left knee to our chest. And then we're going to roll that out across our body, extending our arm, looking at our hand. From here, we're going to again grab both knees, roll them to our chest. I usually will roll around a little bit, working on loosening up that low back. Okay, so the first routine is the posterior neck mob. We're going to use the softball for this. The softball is going to be placed down behind your head, and for 2 minutes, you're just going to roll back and forth. And yes, I said 2 minutes. So for those of you who don't have it, I usually have a watch for timing. We can time on the video here, but for me, I'm so used to using a watch. I've been doing these routines now for about 5 years. So we'll use a watch, and for 2 minutes, we're going to take and slowly roll our head back and forth. And start. As you can see, I'm going to roll it to one end, and then it's going to sit there for a few seconds. Then I'm going to roll to the other side. Nice and slow. There's no fast movement. Sometimes you'll have to readjust the ball behind your head. Make sure during this process you continue to breathe. Nice, easy breaths. If you're more comfortable laying with your legs out, feel free to do that. You can have your hands at your side. Across your chest, whatever you're more comfortable with. about 15 more seconds, and then we'll move on to the next mobility exercise. And we'll stop. Stop the timer. The next tool of the trade we're going to grab is the tennis ball. It's for the overhead rib mob. So the tennis ball, what you're trying to do is place it, you're going to place it on your backside, and you're going to try to get it somewhere just outside of that scapula. And so you're going to roll around, and you're going to know it when you get it in the right spot. So you're going to take, and I'll try to change angles here a little bit so you get a little bit idea. So you're going to take it and roll it back. And you're going to feel it because it's going to be kind of painful. That's one thing about these mobility exercises, is that they can sometimes be kind of painful. So that's the spot you're trying to get. It's right outside of the scapula, probably about 4 to 6 inches down from your shoulder blade. And we're going to do this on both sides. So once you get that tennis ball in place, you're going to take your arm, raise it above your head. We're going to get our timer going again. Every mobility exercise is 2 minutes long. If you can't do 2 minutes, do what you can. So you're going to take your arm, and the object here is to try to reach it back and touch the ground. Now, some sides are more flexible than others. Then you're going to come up in a nice slow pattern, and you're going to come across and then cut across at the waist. So as you can see, my hand is right at about the top of my waist. And then we're going to continue this movement back and forth for 2 minutes. So some of these mobility exercises are going to be more painful than others. So just be aware that there are things in your body that are probably, what's the right words here I'm trying to find? They're probably in a little bit worse shape than you realize, because you don't notice the pain directly until something major happens. The idea behind this stuff is to try to keep major injuries from happening. It's hard to keep all injuries from happening, especially when you're into fitness. Some things just happen, you slip, you twist wrong, weird stuff that is an accumulation of doing exercises incorrectly or not doing mobility work. So anyways, I'm going to keep going to this nice smooth pattern. Like I say, this is for the upper rib. If your upper rib is really far out, it's going to pop. And it's going to probably freak you out a little bit when it happens. Don't worry about that. That's what this is for. This is supposed to be making sure that everything's back in alignment. Make sure you keep breathing throughout these exercises. We got about 10 seconds left, and we're going to switch to the other side. Some sides are more painful than others. And stop. Grab that tennis ball again, 4 to 6 inches down, right outside that scapula. I usually, you'll find it when you hit it. And again, same routine here. Back and over. And then swing your arm again across your hip. Back over. You're trying to keep as straight an arm as you can as you reach back. Some of these will take you a little bit of trial and error to find that correct spot. But trust me, when I tell you this, you're going to notice it. I don't want to say there's no pain, no gain, because I don't necessarily believe in that mantra. However, when it comes to mobility work, that pain is an indication that something's out of place. It's wrong. It's not where it's supposed to be. The concept behind this, again, is to try to get everything set back to where it's supposed to be. If you're a person that does a lot of pull-ups, this is an exercise you'll greatly appreciate it, because a lot of times when you're doing a ton of pull-ups, you'll that overhead rib will bounce out of place from trying to pull your body up and over the bar all the time. This helps reset that rib back into place. And what you'll notice a lot of times with this routine, and when it's out of place, you'll actually end up with a really stiff neck right across the trap area. I guess it's more upper back than neck, but it's very stiff. About 10 seconds here and we're done with this one. Okay. Oh, on that note, we're going to sit up. So the next one that I do for my mobility work is what is known as lateral hip opener. So the lateral hip opener, most of the guys won't be able to do this exercise. The ladies, their hips are a little bit more flexible than the guys are. So this exercise here, I'm going to show you two versions of, because there's one version that's a little easier to do than another version, and I want to make sure that we're doing this one correctly. So for those of you that have some hip flexibility, we're going to take our foot and put it across. Now remember, one hip is more flexible than the other almost always. You're going to sit up straight. You're going to take this arm and you're going to roll it back and across and over your head. You're going to use that foot to push that hip down towards the floor, the hip and knee down towards the floor. And again, we're going to hold this position for 2 minutes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a minute of this hip flexor exercise. Then I'm going to go and show you how to do a minute of the one that most people need to start at, because this is one that you normally build to. So this aspect will take a little longer here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do 2 minutes on this side with the hip flexor, and then I'm going to show you the other hip flexor exercise. So during these videos, you're going to have to pick which one you're more comfortable with. So one of the other things that you can do with this hip flexor exercise is to get a little bit more range of motion. I will sometimes take this arm and push down. And if your upper arm gets tired, I'd usually just kind of lay it across my head. But I will push on it, or I will sit down like this and push down this way, which is opening up my other hip. So for me, my right side is the tighter of the two hips. Believe it or not, when I started this, I could not do this exercise. So for those of you that can't do this exercise, trust me, I completely understand where you're at, 100% feel that. What I'm going to do for the other side is show you the other hip flexor exercise, the hip capsule mob, and that's where most of us start. We got about 10 seconds here. Then I'm going to set up to show you this other hip capsule mob. This is the one that most of us will start at. So we're going to sit straight back up. A lot of times I'll lean into this hip for a few seconds. As you can see, I've got my arm across the upper knee because I'm still trying to open up my hip. So for those of us that have bad hips, this is a little extra work. So the concept behind mobility work is 2 minutes is what they figure is the minimum you need to do to actually get some benefit from it. The 20-30 second thing, you're not really going to extend the range of motion much. They figure 2 minutes, and you can go longer if you want, but 2 minutes is a base. So let's get set up. We're going to use a couch for the other hip, the other side of the hip opener. So I'm going to set this camera up so that you can kind of see as I go over to the couch. So for the second side of the hip, we're going to take the hip. So we're going to stand up. You're going to take your foot. And what you're going to try to do is get your hip and we're looking at a 90-degree angle here. So a lot of guys might not be able to do that. So we'll take this foam roller, because your hip may not be flexible enough. Take this foam roller so that you can set your hip up a little higher. But for those that are flexible, we don't need that. And we're going to just set down on the foam roller. And we're going to sit here for 2 minutes. And a lot of times you'll see me twist, try to sit up tall if you can. But I'll twist a little bit, push across there so I get a little bit more pressure down on it. Depends on your pain tolerance and where your flexibility is at. Again, you may have to build this up with pillows, a foam roller, pillows, whatever it is, to whatever range of motion you have. So at some point in time, what you're hoping to be able to do is be able to take this back foot and get it flat on the floor. And then you'll push down. One of the things I do is I'll push down on that hip to get a little bit more range of motion out of it. And now, twist. And if this is too much, you come right back up to the top. Again, try for a 90 degrees and sitting up tall. We got about 30 seconds still. So this is where most of us start on opening up our hips again, especially if we have no range of motion. This is a great exercise. If you can't do 2 minutes, stop at a minute 10. Remember where you're at. Tomorrow, come back, attack it again. About 10 seconds. Actually, it's less. And stop. And that is your mobility routine for week 1, Monday. Thank you.